We're going to be back way before Sarah Koenig gets her stuff together with our latest serial installment because Jon Jones is doing something again that involves the police, which means it's time for Verbal Tap, the show that proves fighting actually not always easier from outside the cage. Occasionally it can be...
yes, in this instance, a little different.
I don't want to, shit all over the point we've been building for a while, but in this particular case, merits shitting on Jon Jones. Raph, I'm going to start with, I believe you were training. No, you went to go see family. That's the mistake you made. It's time we talk about this on the air. Yeah, Mr. Okay. I'm responsible for knowing everything. You've built that reputation over years of knowing everything and shaming me for not knowing it. You take 30 minutes to look away from your phone and have dinner with your family, and what is the consequence for that?
Apparently unprofessionalism, which is fine, but...
that was it because, first of all, you knew by the time anyone knew anything more than a Twitter report, which is not... And let's start. Let's break it down. Mm-hmm. It comes out on Twitter that Jon Jones has... And it was all very cryptic. Dropped from 187, rear-ended someone, traces of cocaine in the car, she's pregnant, and he ran from the scene. It just kind of keep cascading.
I know that for Kevin, when you texted me this, and you said, have you heard the Jon Jones rumors? I'm in the middle of talking about my great day with my family. And I just looked out at my phone and I go, excuse me, everybody. Apparently, the internet decided I can't have nice things.
I would never send it to you if, A, I thought it was complete bullshit. Yeah. I wouldn't have sent it.
Absolutely.
Or B, it wasn't important. I would have never bothered you with something like that unless I was like, hey, because you would make fun of me if it weren't true.
It's true.
And I know that. Like, you would spend a lot of time berating me because I jump immediately. Like, if I see it as a headline, I'm in.
What you do need to know is right about this time, I don't know if you ever have this issue come up, but we had friends of family come to visit us. So there were some new people I had never met before who had heard that I was an MMA fan. So I was in the middle of defending mixed martial arts. And
hold on. You haven't told me. He hasn't told me this.
I have not told you this, though. So I was in the middle of saying,
it's not that bad. I don't think. I mean, it's a disciplined sport. Sorry,
hey, I do jiu-jitsu. It's a really, really helpful to me and a lot of other people. And the sport has a lot of athletic ability. There's a lot of strategy involved. Give me a second. I'm apparently being texted by my co-host. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is the guy I do the show with. Kevin is saying... okay. And the guy's like, well, none of that really matters because some guy just gets caught with cocaine. And I go, well, funny you mention that because that same guy definitely got caught with cocaine again, allegedly. So at the time, although it didn't turn out to be true on the cocaine aspect, it definitely did not help my argument in front of these people. So at which point I start looking through the headlines and I then begrudgingly tell my family I cannot take several hours off. This is what happens when I step away from the internet for a couple hours. But I'm glad you sent it. So yes, there was no cocaine. Let's go ahead and take that out. We later found out cocaine was not involved. It was just an easy thing. It's probably something that your computer does, much
cocaine?
Like spell check.
Yeah, I was
when
like,
it says Jon Jones, it just goes cocaine.
His history is to blame here. Yes. He has history. So when it was known that narcotics were in, it was just assumed. And, all's fair on that one. Hard to blame people
Jon
for...
Jones, and the paperclip asks you, did you mean cocaine?
You meant Jon Jones cocaine. That's the story, but it turns out it was marijuana.
Yes, which, is kind of lesser. It just depends on who you ask. If you're the... Nevada Athletic State Commission, it's probably not the best thing to be caught with either. Less than cocaine, sure. If you ask us, it's not great to be doing before a fight when you're about to be randomly drug tested. But, yeah, okay. So, Kevin, where did you now leave off after you had sent me the text, because you were traveling. Right now, you're over in Colorado, right?
Speak of the weed devil. Yeah, I'm in Colorado.
You're our weed correspondent.
Just guys, I can report to you with 100% certainty, not everyone on weed gets into a fender bender and runs away. I can only say that from a lot of copious interviews here on the street. Yeah. Frankly, I seem to be able to navigate the podcast, not words so great, but, on some mile-high mint. So I'm doing great right now.
Okay, so did you end up reading what happened after you sent me that tweet or text?
I know that the arrest warrant went out. I did see that there was an arrest warrant and that they couldn't find him. Okay. That's the last, and to me it was just like, are we joking? We can't find him? Okay, and I was just expecting to hear that he was in Brazil and deciding whether or not to come back. That's what I was expecting. That's what I was hoping for, I guess. I thought it would have made a much better movie.
Where I left off was, I heard, okay, this is not great. So then I start looking up all the headlines. And the thing that really seemed to be bothering me that entire Sunday was, well, I hope obviously it's not true, but I haven't heard from any of his lawyers yet. Because normally that's the type of thing that you hope to hear, oh, my client was not involved, they were not here. Then you start to realize the distance between being a person of interest to possible suspect. And I don't know if you read this part, Kevin, but the police officer who identified Jon Jones was a UFC fan.
First of all, we knew it was going to fuck him eventually. That beautiful face. God damn it. Go on.
So the police officer, when he asked him, they're like, are you sure? Or how were you able to tell it was Jon Jones? He says, I watched the UFC. I know what Jon Jones looks like. And to be fair, it is kind of a very unique look. So I guess the thing...
Well, he's 6'6", and the most dangerous fucking man on the planet.
Yes. So let's discuss what happens now is he runs away from a hit and run after running a red light and getting into a collision, which happens to be a pregnant woman, which terrible to read, who at the time was reported to have no injuries, but I guess ended up kind of spraining her wrist a little bit. So terrible to hear, obviously. But then Jon Jones flees the scene in a rental car, which also is a different red flag of its own, but in a rental car, and then runs away and then remembers, oh shit, there's cash. Yeeks! And then runs back to the car to get the cash, and then runs away. So it was definitely a hit and run with an athlete who can run very well.
Would have been awesome if he had just dropped 100 G's on the trunk. Hey, John, next time this happens, drop 100 G's on the trunk. See if just nothing gets reported. That's my suggestion.
Yeah. So that was interesting, and okay, Kevin. So right now it is what date is today, Kevin? It is April 28th.
April 28th.
Okay. So as of right now, they have still not called off the fight, even though he has turned himself in. He is now out on bail. So things may change by the time you hear this, but as of right now, they have still not called off the May fight. My question to you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Is that the right call?
Raph, wrong question. I hate to do this. I hate to be the one to correct you, and I don't know if it's the weed that's giving me the gumption, but I'm going to say, isn't the better question, does this mean it's possible Jon Jones fights Anthony Rumble Johnson in the confines of a state penitentiary?
No.
Damn it! No, not even close, not even possible. You're saying under no circumstances does Jon Jones fight this behind bars? Because... dude, huge. The longest octagon? No, that doesn't work. We'll work on it.
Those of you who'd like to send in hate mail, you can do so at PhillipsKevin1 on the Twitter. That is exactly who to direct that statement to.
No, I think that's hilarious, frankly. I can't believe they haven't canceled. They really haven't canceled the fight? They haven't pulled him from the card?
No, they have not done anything of the sort. And to the UFC's credit, if you're Dana White and you're
to the UFC's credit, you postpone. It doesn't matter. You suspend him indefinitely further.
Take a second and take the journey with me.
Okay.
The first thing that you think about is, if you're Dana White and you can't even sell out half of an audience capacity in Canada, who loves all of the MMA. And then you have some pretty okay fights, and then the next morning you wake up like, I fucking made it out of that one. Wait, what the fuck did Jon Jones do this time? And then you realize, well, shit. Now this is really coming back to bite me in the ass. And this is something I was talking about with somebody who I was walking them through it, and they said, I wouldn't have pulled Jon Jones from that fight where they discovered he had cocaine going into that fight. He had pre-tested for it, because what did it matter? And I think my thing in response was, well, if you don't do it then guess what happens? That's a bad investment that's going to come back and bite you in the ass, and now potentially can cost the UFC even more millions of dollars. And this is the organization that in their own public statement is saying, we support the fighter. And I think that's the interesting language, because if you support the fighter, at this point you need to pull him out of there, because something's not right with Jon Jones.
I'm confused on where you fell. You argued both sides of that really well. Is it good for the UFC to keep him on the card right now? Because that's the part where I'm like, I think you made an argument for it, and I don't fully understand the argument for that.
You mean you're trying to figure out why I would say to keep him on the card?
I'm saying, what possible argument could they have for not have had it being done it yet?
Well, we're trying to get our facts straight here.
They're so lucky they're not Roger Goodell right now, because he would be getting destroyed. Rightfully so, but still, this is one of those... Come on, I know it's a lot of money, Dana, but he's going to fight for you again. Just suspend him right now for his own good. What do you mean? Crazy.
And Anthony Rumble Johnson has the right approach right now and says that he doesn't mind waiting like Vitor did for his title shot. Says that he'd rather, anytime Jon Jones is better, all of that good stuff, he will still continue to train because that's what he does. And that if he has to fight somebody else, he will. But if you're him, you've got to be at that point where you're saying, no, I'm not going to fight anybody because I saw what happens to Gustafsson. I was what happened to Gustafsson. I don't want someone like me to come along and take that away from me. So I'm just gonna chill, guys.
He would never say that, but that's exactly what he's afraid of. I was that guy. I did it, and I am not gonna get knocked out by some asshole because
it's the secret. I was that guy. I know what it's like. There's another me out there just as hungry now, if not more.
So, tentatively, big winner, Anthony Rumble Johnson. Big loser, Jon Jones.
Well, I don't know that there was really a deep competition for loser between Jon Jones. And I'll say this, and I said it the last time. The last time this happened with the cocaine thing, it was terrible. And it wasn't like the DUI wasn't a red flag in retrospect. But, I think we're at this stage now where it's fine to kind of do the jokes and whatever, but something's not right with him in a way that, I don't know, man. I don't know what his trajectory is, but I will tell you this. If I'm a media strategist, I want a sincere apology from Jon Jones this time. If he is really, really committed to getting better, I would highly encourage him that more than one day of rehab may be needed this time.
2, 3, what do you think?
I don't know.
If he does 300% more rehab, that's just days.
It's 3 days. So I don't know. I think it's got to be a good faith effort by both the UFC and for Jon Jones and for his own health. I'm not even talking about the fighter. He's a great fighter, and I think there's very little that can disrupt his record. But I think we're at a point now where it's dangerous what could be happening to him. So I do wish him the best. It's just terrible to read. That's the worst part about getting sent this. Yeah, of course. I'm slightly perturbed. I didn't see it right away. Yeah, it sucks that it's kind of another red flag. But now we're just at that part where it's not even funny anymore. It's just this guy who's troubled, and it's fucked up. So let's hope the best for Jon Jones. Let's leave it at that.
I completely agree. And frankly, as you said, you saw this coming. I didn't. I thought he was just sort of working out some young oats. But we hope the best because, he seems hopefully this is that moment. This isn't that one that we're like, oh, we should have for sure stopped him there. And this is the last time we get there. Because for history, it's just fucking behave while you're making millions of dollars. That's my only, okay. Let's get better, Jon Jones. Let's hope we don't have to come back with a serial podcast.
Oh, God. So,
with a collect call from... Ref, do it.
You have a collect call from
Raf Esparza.
Do you exactly this?
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. I played that, for Kelly because in hindsight, Kevin and I did a serial podcast, mockumentary opening when the cocaine thing happened because we thought, okay, that's kind of timely and kind of funny. And then Kevin texts me and goes, we apparently did that a little too early. So, yeah. Anyway, we've got a great show for you guys today. Let's talk a little bit about it. So,
no guarantees.
So we're bringing back our friend Dan Hubler from Newaza and from Dream Jiu-Jitsu to recap all of the fights that took place in an half-empty auditorium over in Quebec, Canada. And then we are going to talk to our good friend Joe Schilling.
I'm excited about this because I swear, Joe Schilling feels like quietly one of the most violent people on the planet to me, just from watching him fight.
He's super violent and he walks the walk, He's maybe one of the most dangerous friends we know, Kevin.
Well, let's get to talking to him.
Sounds good.
Verbal Tap fans, fresh off a less than definitive split decision loss at Bellator 136, we have friend of the podcast, and as my friends describe him, they think you look like a striking robot. They were like, that looks like what you would design if he weren't completely man, and I'm like, yes, I agree. Joe Schilling. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Is that the first time you've been compared to what a striking robot would look like? Because I've always thought that's exactly.
Yeah, I was like, is that insulting me or is that a good
No.
thing? Okay, you're design a robot. Okay.
Yeah, this isn't some random robot, Joe. This is put into a lab. Yeah. It's high-tech stuff.
Some iRobot shit, huh?
Exactly. iRobot 3 starring Joe Schilling. Look for it this coming December for a movie for the holidays. How goes training? Obviously, you returned to Bellator, so you're back in the MMA world, which all of us are thankful for. Your opponent obviously spent a lot of time trying to lay on you during most of the fight at the last one, which is understandable. You do hit very hard. How goes training? Talk to us about Bellator 136 and returning to the MMA scene.
Returning to the MMA scene has been fun. It's been a lot of fun working on all the different aspects and improving as much as I can. The last fight was kind of not a very good one. I don't think, I still think I won the fight, in my opinion, but obviously there's things I need to work on. I can't really, I don't know, I think it's a girly way to win a fight. You win a fight by, your goal is to stop the other person from fighting. It's not to actually beat them, it's just to stop them from fighting. I can't continue to use that excuse. I don't want to be that guy. It's like, oh, he just held me down the whole time. I got to improve so that I can't do that anymore. So that's what I'm working on now is stopping these guys from being able to lay and pray and hug me to death.
So, Joe, I've never broken anyone's jaw.
Yeah.
You have. And what does it feel like to break somebody's jaw and then still be told that you lost a fight? Because I feel that must be somewhat frustrating.
Yeah, all of it was pretty frustrating. And a part of me is like, it's the judge's fault. Like whoever the judge that said it was 30-27 for the other person, I want to blame them, but at the same time, it's like maybe that's the way the MMA scoring system works.
No, it's not. Let's go ahead and blame them. 30-27? Yeah, no, let's ridicule people when they're wrong. That's ridiculous. And I don't even know about scoring. Raph can attest to that. That's crazy.
Right. I was pretty upset at the end because it's like, I have a responsibility to do my job, and if I don't do my job, there's consequences. But it seems like for the athletic commissions, there's no consequences when they screw up or they don't do their job correctly. It's just frustrating to say the least. But, I can't do anything about that. All I can do is train harder and make it so that these guys can't chicken shit way victory out of me ever again. So that's my mindset right now.
So, Joe, I don't know what the mentality was. Was there any responses that you got back from, people at Bellator or, other people, just in terms of what they saw the fight as?
Everybody asked what you thought I won. The Bellator people just said they're still really pleased with my performance and that I didn't lose any status or whatever by it. And, it is what it is. All your friends are going to tell you won, even if you got your ass kicked. So it's, it doesn't really mean as much. But yeah, it's, I look at the fight and I'm not proud of it. I should have been in better shape. I should have had a better game plan for what is now so obvious that that's what everybody's going to try to do when they fight me. So yeah, it is what it is. I should have done better, but I still think I did more than enough to win the fight.
But let's talk a little bit about what we saw as a major improvement. Kevin and I saw some great defense just in terms of jiu-jitsu, which last time we checked in, you weren't the world's most confident person about your own jiu-jitsu, but for us, you were doing high-level shit. So how did you feel about that, and how did you go about making improvements on filling out all of your game?
Beautiful Kimura escape when he was trying to Americana you.
Yeah, I never really felt like I was in that much trouble with that when he had me in the Kimura, and I felt really comfortable on the ground. It's just, I did get tired, and I'm really not used to, I guess, fighting on the ground where, it is a different energy system, and I was more tired than I should have been. But, as far as the jiu-jitsu goes, I've worked with very high-level guys, and I feel comfortable on my back and in those positions. I just need to get better at there was a couple opportunities where I made space and I should have been able to pop up, and I was just too tired and not able to do that. So, I look at it as a loss that I need to learn from, and I always do. So I'm still, whether anybody tells me I won the fight or I did great or whatnot, I'm just seeing all the things that I did wrong, and that's what's going to make me better next time.
May I offer a submission game focus, and remember that it comes with absolutely no expertise in MMA whatsoever.
Okay.
I think you work your heel hook game viciously, and here's why.
Yeah.
People get scared of the heel hook, so if you heel hook the shit out of a few people, all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't really want to go on the ground. And just based off of the way you were taunting Carvalho, I'm guessing you're not really worried about anyone in the division stand-up wise. That's my guess.
Yeah, no. And really, I'm not really concerned about anybody stand-up wise, obviously. He was saying before the fight that he was a better striker than me and he was going to knock me out. The fight was going to be stand-up.
I'm sure he was.
Even when he was saying it, I was like, he's full of shit, but I should have had a better game plan for what it was. And when I was taunting him, it was me trying to get him to throw. I wanted to get him to throw some punches so that I could counter and do what I wanted to do. But he was just, when we would get into exchanges, I would win the exchanges. But when he would just run forward, hold on, we ended up in that clinch. So, I wasn't necessarily taunting him to. I guess I was taunting him, trying to get him to throw. But it was serious.
We understood why. You showed the chin. You did full chin show. Yeah. It's like, we understand what that means. Plus, it's good. We like the showmanship.
And Joe, to be fair, maybe in Brazil, knockouts mean just smother you on the mat. So it could just be a loss in translation.
Yeah. That's probably
speaking
of, I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Well, say it if you think you know what I'm going to say. I had something maybe different in mind, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that there was there was a lot of talking going on between me. Well, I was talking a lot in the ring, and Jimmy Smith had said something about, I wonder if he knows that he doesn't speak English, and I can attest that he knew exactly what I was saying and responded in English just perfectly.
I wonder if he doesn't speak English. Oh, he speaks English when he needs to. He speaks English just fine.
Yeah. I spoke a little Spanish as well, just to make sure. He knew exactly what I was saying. There was no doubt. Portuguese is like Spanish, right? Like it translates a little bit. I hope. I thought it did.
Joe, you may be onto something. I hope that you have a little bit for each fighter in every different region and every different language, so you learn just a little bit, just so you can get under their skin. Speaking of people who potentially may need some better help with their wording, English, and logic, you were also challenged on the internet after your fight by the internet is telling me he was a fighter once. I don't know if I remember. Who was it, and what were they doing?
His name was Not Important, and he was just trying to make noise, I guess. I don't know. It actually worked out. I used to do like Facebook therapy when I was pissed off and stuff, and I would just go off on Facebook, and then I would delete it later. Yeah. And now I've discovered Twitter therapy, and that person, whose name's Not Important, was really good. It was really good for me. I mean, I really had a great time. The first night when he called me out and started saying the nonsense, it was the night of my fight, and I was drunk as hell in a club, and all of us around the table were just laughing hysterically at all of my responses. And when I woke up the next day hungover, I looked at my phone, and I was laughing hysterically again at all the stuff I had said the night before, which was, I realized I'm a pretty witty guy on Twitter.
Not a lot of people find that after they've been drinking.
Usually, like, you wake up the next day hungover, and you're like, oh, God, what did I say in that text message I sent last night? No, I was laughing hysterically. I was really impressed with the stuff that came out of off my fingertips, I guess. Yeah, so he said some stupid shit, wanting to try to bait me into fighting him or whatever, and at first it was just like annoying, and I ignored it, and then he kept going and going and going, and I realized that, Glory had a fight in 3 weeks from that date, and I hadn't really even been in a fight that night because I just got hugged for 3 rounds. So
we were going to ask you about that, the Glory fight.
Yeah, do you want to fight? Yeah. So I was like, if Not Important wanted to fight me so bad, then, I hit up Glory, and I was like, hey, you want to have this fight with this guy, Not Important? And they were like, yeah, sure, we'll do it if you want. So I said, okay, if you want to fight me so bad, fight me in 3 weeks for Glory. And, he wanted a full training camp and a bunch of other demands, like not fighting under an athletic commission, or wanted to fight overseas. And I said, this is your one shot. You want to fight me? It's 3 weeks notice. Let's go. I'll fight you in 3 weeks. And he turned down the fight. So, he goes back to being Not Important.
So let's recap. If you are going to call out Joe Schilling,
which I'm going to, Raph, this is good coaching. I was just about to do that at the end of the podcast, so go ahead.
Fire you.
Come on. Let's.
So you're going to call out Joe Schilling. Then Joe Schilling is going to get the better of you while drinking and having a good time up in the club, and then still find the time to. And I think this is the most fascinating part. Call up the people at Glory and say, "You guys want me to fight?" And then go, "Yes." Who? And then they just say, "Oh yeah, that guy." And all of a sudden, it just comes out that yes, Glory confirms he did turn down your fight, and suddenly, Not Important is a little more quiet for some strange reason.
Yeah. Awkward, huh? Weird. Funny how that works out. I mean, the thing is, like, if you want to call me out, on the internet, and then you should be ready to fight me like right then, because, if you called me out walking down the street, you should be able to fight right now. You don't pick a fight with somebody and say, okay, meet me here in 8 to 10 weeks, and we'll settle this, So, if you want to fight me, I gave you the opportunity. He didn't want to do it, and it worked out well. It was pretty entertaining for the weekend for a lot of people on Twitter, I think, and I got a couple thousand more followers, and it was really fun making fun of Phil.
It's kind of funny because Phil, I like the drop in is the best in case people weren't sure who would be silly enough to talk shit to you like that. I think the funniest part to me is it almost sounds like the Kevin Hart meme of like, I would fight you, but see the way my bank system is structured is
totally. See the way my training camp's set up. I can't fight you. Can't fight you in California. I can only fight you in Europe.
Yeah, well.
And we're also going to bring this full circle and talk a little boxing. I'm actually excited about this. So, Raph and I reluctantly admit Joe Schilling knows a little bit more than us about striking.
A little bit more. Let's be very specific. Just like a little.
Not a lot. Not a lot more.
Slightly.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
If we're being honest, which we rarely are, so we thought we'd ask him some opinions, especially as one of the few people that speaks the striking world much more. Like you have a great background in Muay Thai. He's also trained kickboxing, trained boxing, and trains MMA. So he can kind of explain it to someone like me who's a layman's. So could you two put it in historical context why Pacquiao versus Mayweather is huge? Now, I agree it's huge, and I'm excited. I just don't know why I'm excited.
That's a really good. I like the way you asked that question. Historically based, why it's important, I don't really know. I mean, they're both like world champions at the same weight division that are, have huge followings. But I don't think it's like a historical reason. I think it's just it's a fight that everybody has wanted and talked about for the last 10 years, 5 years for sure. And there's just so much hype behind it. And then both of them being such superstars in that weight division and in the sport, I think is what makes it such a huge fight. I don't know if there's any like historical reasons behind it, but it's the biggest money fight of all time, and it has the biggest hype behind it, I think.
Yeah, Joe, I mean, it's only being called the fight of the century, so good luck to you on finding something that's going to beat the century. I guess the thing is, are you at all excited about this? Because you mentioned people have been talking about this forever. Is it just less that we're excited about it? Or are we just kind of at a point where we still have this fascination to want to see them fight, even if they are older? I mean, where are you at with it?
Oh, I think the fight is still just as interesting. I mean, a lot of people say, like, oh, it was, it would have mattered 3 years ago or something before Pacquiao got knocked out. But, I mean, I'm still really interested to see what happens. My only negative about it is I'm consciously afraid that it's not going to live up to all the hype. I'm waiting for the disappointment, like a headbutt or something, or a weird decision. It's so rare that a fight like that would ever materialize into the, to meet all the hype that's behind it.
I will tell you and Kevin this right now, and I haven't mentioned this to Kevin yet. I actually, yesterday, in apparently a dream, went to sleep, knocked out, dreamt that I went to my buddy's place to go watch the fight, and that when I got there with food in hand, it was over within 10 seconds and Mayweather won. And that I was just standing there holding food and everybody started exiting. So I don't know if that's foretelling of anything or if I have the gift. But Kevin, what is your prediction for the fight?
I saw Money Mayweather once in Vegas. He was getting what he called some scratch for the table. It was $2 million in cash. He had nothing but money jackets. That type of bravado is for sure going to win over someone that's some of the Manny Pacquiao commercials have been absurd. So I've got to go with Mayweather just because I've seen the machismo. I've seen it.
Joe, where are you at on it? You actually having real insight and not having weird dreams or the ability to see
who won in your dream, Ref? Who won in your dream?
I was very clear. I told you Mayweather won in my dream.
Okay. I was just making sure.
Okay. Do you have some sort of actual insight, Joe, to counter the nonsense of myself and Kevin?
Yeah, see, I'm a weird fight fan. Like I'm a fight fan that like it annoys me when people always go for the favorite and they're so like overly, Mayweather fans when he's fighting a guy they know he's gonna, win. So like I have two sides to this. Like, what do I think will happen and what do I want to happen? What I think will happen is Mayweather wins the decision, and it's really. I think that realistically, Mayweather will get hit more than we have ever seen him get hit before. But I think that he still wins the decision, and I think that it's going to be almost impossible for Mayweather to lose a decision in Nevada. I just think he has too much clout and too much got too much pull in Nevada. I don't think any judges will go against him, even though it's a close fight. And I think that Pacquiao will hit him more often than he's been hit before, but I think that Mayweather will also show more power than he's ever showed before, because I think that the way that Manny attacks, he rushes in a lot, and when he gets hit, he's running into shots. And I think that Mayweather's speed could be an issue with that. I could see Mayweather even knocking down Pacquiao with a right hand, a counter to Pacquiao lunging in. But I think if it goes to a decision, if Mayweather wins the decision, and it's kind of a lackluster fight, and then Manny Pacquiao does what Manny Pacquiao usually does, then it's going to be a really exciting fight. And hopefully, I'd like to see I'd like to see Pacquiao knock him out, but if I was a betting man, I'd say Mayweather by decision.
Okay. I like that. I like the picking what you want to have happen versus what you think's going to happen. I would like a finish.
Right.
That would be that would just be nice. And that does not seem to happen often in boxing.
Well, not in Mayweather boxing, that's for sure. You don't see him. You've seen some really good super middleweight fights right now. PBC this past weekend was really good. You guys been following that at all? The boxing promotion on Spike TV, Premier Boxing.
No, but I will say thank you for reminding us. It sounded like a commercial just found its way onto our show. But I didn't know. We did get paid for it.
I'm Spike TV's boy. You got to know. I'm gonna run commercials every time I'm on here. Spike
Hey,
TV.
whatever gets you paid, that's fine. But if you could very sweetly
check out Friday Night Lights on Spike. All the best fighters in the world fight Friday night on Spike.
I love that you're reading the exact perfect copy for each one of them. Are you also going to tell us about Lip Sync Battle as well?
There's a big glory fight this coming weekend in San Diego. There'll be Simon Marcus and Alex 11, two guys that I've defeated fighting for the belt that should be mine this coming Saturday. And tune in to watch it because they're going to need all the ratings because I'm not on it. So everybody make sure you watch it. I'll probably be in the audience. You can check it out and probably see me wave. And it's going to be really interesting to see who wins my belt.
You know, when this fight
and, the weeks to follow, there'll be a Bellator middleweight battle defense between Brandon Hubler and Kevin Grove. Should be another great fight. All three of which events will be on Friday night on Spike.
Thank you. You know, when this fight game is all said and done for you, Joe, I really think there's a future in you being the fight equivalent of a TV guide channel, walking you through all of the upcoming fights for the next month. And
great bit, yeah. And
in relation to what you are to each of those fights. Hey, I'm not in this fight, but I've beaten both of these guys. Just so you should know.
I can do that.
Yeah, no, I'll produce it and we'll make it work. Joe, if you would be so kind, we actually had some people give us some of their predictions, and we'd love to get your insight to see what you think. Do you think they'll happen, or do you think they're nonsense? So are you cool with taking a few of them?
Yeah, of course.
Great. We had one person chime in and said their prediction was that there would be the reemergence of Tupac at the end of this fight.
Oh, probably. It seems prudent. But Joe, sorry, you're the expert here.
Yeah, that could happen. You know, that's something I want to see happen. The probability is not as good. Yeah.
Again, would like to see Pacquiao with Tupac at the after party. Just not sure it's realistic.
Yeah.
Fair.
Not good for that.
Our thanks to Mike Stallings for that question. Let's go to our next one. Our next question, or our next response, I believe, comes from Marlon Amir Masingo, and it says, Pacquiao will win by a knockout. Singing performance of his next hit album.
Ooh.
Huh. Wow. Yeah, Pacquiao might win by knockout. That's possible. I don't know about the rest of it.
Well, the rest of it's a lock. If he wins by knockout, he's for sure going to break out in song to celebrate.
Totally. I bet you, here's a better prediction. If he wins by knockout, the first thing he will do is he will like to prank all his Filipino fans. Sure.
That's wow. I hope there's betting money, and I hope you find a fool who's stupid enough to take that bet, Joe. Here's one that we've. Joe, can you, when you win your next fight, can you also thank all the Filipino fans? Because I feel like you might as well just inherit and become the next Pacquiao.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the
By the
way
way, if you ask me right now who I expect to see in some Filipino backyard brawl fighting the national champion of the country, Joe Schilling is my number 1 through 4 guess.
Yeah, appreciate that. That's a good one. Then I will definitely thank all the Filipino fans.
Here's another one that I was kind of intrigued by, and I really wanted to get your thoughts on it. It was from Happy 10th Planet on our Instagram. It is Hickson Gracie by Rear Naked Choke.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
That's not
tag
bad.
team action.
Yeah, I didn't know that's a possibility in boxing. I haven't checked their latest rule sets, but
doesn't take
if he
down.
could. I'll say this. Somebody put a real one. This is from Legend Bound 10. I think Pacquiao's going to win by decision because he has the endurance to stay in all 12 rounds against Mayweather, along with his stunning speed. Nothing like what Floyd has dealt with before. Also, in a southpaw stance, he'll be able to land more punches and avoid Mayweather's shoulder defense. Your thoughts?
I think he's partially right. I think that that's what I was saying. Mayweather, I think Pacquiao, because of being from southpaw and just his speed and his style of fighting, is going to kind of be harder for Floyd to use his shoulder roll, which he's so good at. But so I think Pacquiao will definitely land more punches on Mayweather than anybody else, I think. And but I just think it's going to be really hard for Pacquiao to win a decision in Nevada against Floyd.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one.
Every judge is going to go for him on any close round. You know, it's funny, when I watch Mayweather fights, you hear the expression, like, you have to beat the champion or whatnot, like you have to beat the champion. But, like, when we watch it, we're not watching it. We're hoping he gets hit. You know, we're counting every time that he gets hit or whatever. But the judges are like, he's the only fighter I've ever seen where the judges really score all the punches that Floyd makes them miss. You know, it's like a really weird system. But, you know, the judges there's been fights that have been way closer than the scorecard showed, is because everyone's so impressed and so kind of hung up on Mayweather. So I think it's going to be nearly impossible for Pacquiao to win a decision unless he gets multiple knockdowns or something.
That makes sense. We got two more. I'll read this one real quick. It's saying how Manny's game is built on speed and volume. No one will throw more than Manny. So if Money's legs are slower, that favors Manny. I feel that if Money bulks up, which he has, that he could hurt him as far as speed. Bringing back Justin Fortune to his camp last year returned some of Manny's old speed, which has been surprising at the age of 35, 36. Do you kind of see that? Is age a factor at all? Or, you know, do you feel like somebody's going to be just a little bit off?
How many times can people say Money versus Manny in the same sentence, by the way? That was impressive. I don't know how you got through that.
I don't think the age really makes that big a difference with these guys. I mean, you're talking about a shit ton of money going into their training camps and them doing everything right and them training for this fight for a really long time. I don't think that, you know, those are two, like, premier athletes. I don't think the age is going to be that big of a factor. I think Pacquiao's game is, that guy seems to underrate Pacquiao's power. You know, his speed is his power, but, like, Pacquiao hits you with shots. I mean, if you watch, there was like a meme that somebody posted. I think I actually posted it too when the fight got announced. It showed all of Mayweather's opponents' faces after their fight, and then it showed the same opponents, pretty much the same opponents after Pacquiao. All of their faces were just like wrecked. Like all of them were wrecked. And
that's awesome.
I don't think we've seen anybody with that speed and that much power hit or be able to hit Mayweather. I think Manny's power is going to be the biggest asset, I think, in this one.
Raph, it works. I'm excited for this fight.
His last fight, he got caught once with like overhand right. I think it was like the second round, and it was right at the end. You could tell like it hurt him. And I think that as excited as we got seeing him get hurt with that one shot, or even with Mosley dropped him with the overhand right, remember, years back, and he never threw it again after that for the whole rest of the fight. But I think that there's going to be a lot more flashes of those moments where Pacquiao lands a good shot on Mayweather, and we'll see how Mayweather reacts to it. I think he's going to get hit hard, and he's going to hit a lot more than he's used to.
Good call.
But at the same time, I think that his level of defense and his level of, you know, Mayweather's not a guy that's going to get hit hard 2 or 3 or 10 times and is going to fall apart. You know, he's really, really good at what he does. You know, so it's an interesting fight. You know?
Yeah, definitely. You know, and our thanks to Jessica Gimeno for that one. Our last one, and you know, just really dig deep for how you're going to answer this one, okay? This last one comes from the real Mike Hoffer, and it says, Jon Jones by hit and run. Hashtag too soon? Well, Mike, you've tickled Joe Schilling's this funny bone.
Yeah, I was like, that wins. Joe Schilling laughed.
A winner.
We have a winner here. Good job, Mike. Well, you know, tell us this, Joe. What's coming up next for you? What can we expect to see? Because I've been hearing you doing interviews and start talking about that you want to be kind of this tri-brand athlete. So who knows where the shit you could be appearing next? So tell us what's going on. What's coming up?
Yeah, I think you know, I think that 3-sport athlete thing is actually going to come into fruition here probably by the end of the year, early next year. I think I'll probably get a fight with PBC, which would be fantastic. I believe my next fight is in June for Bellator. That's the target anyway. I don't know if it's been announced or whatnot, but
Okay.
I'm expecting to be in a Bellator cage next, and it'll be in June.
Okay.
And I don't have an opponent yet.
Okay.
So, but I'm going to be going to Florida, American Top Team. I'll be sparring with Thiago Alves for his fight coming up with Carlos Condit. I'll leave next week. I'll be there in the month of May. So I should be getting a lot of really good training in with American Top Team and those guys. We're going to fight King Mo, my wrestling, and really getting ready to stop these hugging matches from happening, and never having to spend another 10 minutes on an interview explaining why the guy hugged me for 3 rounds and how we all thought I won.
Well, we hope that's the case, too, that we could talk with you more about these exciting knockouts that you consistently seem to come up with. I did have another question just in terms of, when you are being the well-rounded machine that you are, do you get those people who, when you get to do kind of kickboxing training with them, that everybody kind of goes, yeah, I'm going to sit this one out. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
They skip you in the rounds?
Oh, no. Like within Thiago, you mean? What do you mean?
I'm just saying, when you're at training camps and, you're doing all different sorts of training and everybody specializes, you got your wrestling guy, you got your jiu-jitsu guy, and then when they get around to kickboxing, if everybody looks around at you and goes, yeah, you know what? Oh, yeah, I'm going to take this round off. Do you mind?
No, actually, I think a lot of people want to spar with me. It seems to be, when I go to a gym to spar with one guy, it seems like there's only like 4 or 5 other guys there that, can I get around here and there and want to work with me too. It's pretty good at working with people and not hurting people, except for like my paid sparring partners. I fuck those guys up for sure. Like when it's just fun, like when we're just training for fun, I like to teach. I really enjoy the sport of kickboxing. I've been doing it for a long time, so I like helping out other people and teaching. So most people enjoy training with me, except for the guys that pay. Those guys aren't, they're getting paid. So
fair enough.
Well. At Joe Schilling 187, if you piss him off on that Twitter handle, maybe you'll get drunk and lay India, which, frankly, I might start doing on a regular basis. You never know. Joe, thanks so much. We love watching you fight. Can't wait to see you in the next, wherever you choose to take that fight. Could still happen in a Filipino yard, so everyone needs to keep their eyes open. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Schilling.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's always a good time. That's it. Appreciate it.
We are going to talk about UFC 186 because Raph assures me we have to. We have brought back the man that hit one of the nicest parlays I've seen published on Facebook in a while. Dan Hubler. Dan, that parlay, you said you didn't get a chance to watch the fights. How closely were you paying attention to that parlay hitting?
I wasn't paying that much attention. I was pretty confident about this one.
Okay.
Well,
don't worry.
Dan, you're never going to get a 30 for 30 at this rate. Like, you are never going to get a 30 for 30. We've got to work on a more genuine, we need to build tension. Be like, oh, I was watching Twitter and at the 11th hour it hit. I cried. Everyone at the party cried. I threw a glass of champagne out the window. That's what I need.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can do that for you. I was at the Show Your Roll art show, which was really, really cool. And I actually completely forgot that the fights were going on until I think 11 o'clock at night. I got back to the hotel. I was like, I think I won some money. Let me go check. And that's all I did.
Well, good news. You're not the only one who forgot fights were happening this weekend.
I also kind of forgot.
I did not forget. I just had better things to do. And we'll talk a little bit about this as we go on.
You also had one of the funniest memes. That guy alone in the bleachers, just waiting for UFC 186.
Well, this is going to bring us to our discussion points. But before we go on to those things, let's talk about how Over-Under Kevin normally works. Normally, we wait till the end to kind of reveal who won. But Dan just decided he wanted to kind of jump on and get a head start and kind of break his own news by posting that photo of that parlay. It was a 6-win parlay for him. So, Dan, do you think that was enough to beat Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a 3-fight parlay would have been enough to beat Kevin.
That is not... Well, I think it would have required a 4, but we would have tied it 3 if I'm not wrong. I'll have to look.
Now, here's what happened. we ended up getting.
Let's talk about who predicted the finishes, Raph. Let's talk about that.
Here's the thing: Kevin had 5 correct picks. Dan's 9 out of 12. Now, Dan, that was part of the parlay that you made. So instead of focusing on the ones that you got right, we're just going to talk about the ones you didn't have the foresight to see. So let's bring up the fights that you totally got wrong, which I believe you were saying that Jessica Rosowski was in no way going to lose this fight against Valerie Lamarchand, which didn't end up being the case.
Yeah, I mean, sucks, but I knew if it went to the ground, like she'd be a little bit of a disadvantage. But I mean, I think her age actually had a pretty big factor into it. But I mean, anytime you've been an underdog, you kind of go into it knowing that it might not happen.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's nice to know that you're able to justify whatever bets you still ended up getting wrong. But the other one that was kind of interesting is maybe you just had a blind side to getting women's MMA right, because you also screwed up the Alexis Davis and the Sarah Kaufman fight.
I called the Marcos fight.
Okay, well, it's 2/3, which
Not
is
baseball.
enough of a passing grade here.
Yeah, okay. I'll admit I got the Alexis Davis-Sarah Kaufman fight wrong, but I mean, based on the last 2 fights where Kaufman beat her, and then the first round of that fight, Kaufman beat the shit out of her. I don't know if you saw her face at the at post-fight interviews, but Kaufman beat the shit out of her in the first round, and she shook off like one triangle attempt, and then finally got armbarred in the second round. But like she was still winning that fight. She got sloppy.
Now, Dan, when we talk about, giving credit to oneself, as you seem to be doing so nicely, is there any kind of regret in the fact that I was trying to push you to the right choices when we were doing this conversation a week ago?
Oh, I no matter what I choose, sometimes I bet both. I mean, I made a parlay of some of Kevin's picks just in case he just happened to be right. Like, oh my God, that would suck for me, but like I'd still at least like comfort myself with my money, Like it's some kind of like ironic fate.
That's funny. Yeah, and I believe the analysis that Alexis Davis learned 200% of the ways not to lose. I think that's what happened. Though, the shit beat out of her for the first round and a half. She looked a little busted at the post-fight presser.
Yeah. So, Kevin, what did you learn from this experience, especially not seeing any of the fights?
I learned it's possible for a UFC card to come and go, and me to not even take a moment to give a shit. This was probably the first one. Came, went, had a brief moment where I was like, oh, Rampage isn't in court. Great. And that was it. Moved about my day.
Now, Kevin, this was interesting. You were actually beating Dan in the prelims.
Yeah, I know that.
Especially
actually.
the fight past prelims. Is there maybe the niche that you are carving out for yourself, that maybe you're just not a main eventer?
First of all, fuck everyone. Fuck the haters. Nordine Talib won on decision. That decision was best abs.
Okay.
That's what I said was going to happen. That's what happened. So I do think there's a lesson to be taken here. The best abs holds true.
Okay. I don't know that that's true, but Dan also should be commended because Dan was making several side bets. And both of those came true. His side parlays that he was putting out was that we would see a Chad Laprise fight go to decision over Barberena, and that did. And then on the other side, we had the submission. He said that there was going to be one place to see it, and that actually came true as well. Dan, your thoughts?
I don't know what else to say. Like I kind of those 2 fights kind of went exactly how I saw them going. I think Oliver's finished like 6 fights in a row by submission now, so like he's on a tear and he's really great on the ground. So that wasn't that very hard to predict that, and I think they've all been by rear naked choke too. So he's kind of like a one-trick pony. Like who's that fighter not long ago who was beating everyone with triangle chokes? What was his name? You remember? He won like 5 in a row by triangle choke.
No,
it's
I don't
escaping me
right
now.
His name.
But in case you are wondering or just listening to the podcast now, just jumping in randomly, Dan has referred to Ronda Rousey as a one-trick pony. His words, not ours.
She got a TKO.
Yes, I'm sure. If we had talked with you before she got that TKO, it would have been Ronda Rousey's a joke. She's a one-trick pony. I know because I bet on it consistently. Dan, was there anything even on the picks that you got right that surprised you from this evening?
I'm surprised that Joe Riggs made it to the third round.
That was true, he did. And Rampage didn't have an injunction stopping him from making it all the way to the cage.
Did not get finished.
No, he did not. Guys, there's a couple questions I want to put up.
It was that guy with the triangle record is all sass. He was doing the sass English jokes for like 5 in a row.
Well, I know that now I can go on the podcast.
Hey, Raph, come on.
Yeah.
This is the type of MMA history people just don't get.
So
I think you got kicked out of the UFC for like making like too many really patriotic remarks or something. Or, like anti-Obama remarks.
This guy's too patriotic for the UFC. So I do have a question, Dan. Parlaying it. Is that a frequent strategy used with like, okay, how sure of you were on the ones you parlayed? Were you genuinely positive, or do you throw 2 or 3 in that you're like above 70% on?
The one I hit on, I was 90% sure on.
Okay.
Usually when I do parlays, I'll do like maybe like 3 or 4 different ones, and I'll start with, the 5 or so that I'm pretty positive on, and then I'll add one more that I'm a little bit, unsure on, and then the next one I'll add 2 more, or so on, and then I'll add an underdog that I think might have a shot, just for the value bet.
I like it. A little bit of win here, a little bit of win there. Michael Bisping said he's going to start working his way back into title contention. Do you see that happening? Would you bet on that? I guess. Let me ask that.
What? How do you define contention? I mean,
he said to fight for the belt. That's what he said. He said, no, fight for the belt.
Yeah, I don't see it happening ever.
Same question for Rampage Jackson, who called out everyone all the way up to Jon Jones.
Maybe.
Fascinating.
Maybe.
See, I think Rampage is as retired as anyone. Though,
well, I think Rampage is at least a little bit more marketable, so there's a shot,
Oh, that's a fair point. Much more marketable. He screamed it. He said
marketability.
And he was great in the after. He was like, I don't think Fabio's human. I just kept hitting him, and he wouldn't go down. It was a sterling rapport. Demetrius Johnson finishes the fight with 1 second left.
I actually saw that fight.
You did see that fight?
I made an effort to actually watch that fight, yeah.
Demetrius Johnson obviously was listening and heard me call him out and say I didn't think he was going to finish the fight. So to spite me, waited until fucking 24 minutes and 59 seconds to get the tap. Which is,
I think it's a record.
That leads us to a very interesting thing that I wanted to talk about, Kevin, which is people were reportedly walking out in the middle of the fight with Demetrius Johnson.
Well, that's not very interesting. That's what should happen. No, I'm joking.
Okay. The reason why I bring this up is, there are a lot of people like Kevin who just see people who are half of his size and go, I don't like him. But
that is not at all.
That is 100% what you do. So don't try and make any other words for it. He's like half of the size of you, and you can eat him. So yes, you are being sizist. But what I'm saying here is there's a part of the country that feels that way. There's a part that also feels he doesn't finish, but he's being dominant. And Dana's trying to make the argument that he's being just as dominant as other champions in their categories, like Ronda and Jon Jones. And yet Demetrius doesn't get his due. So there's a couple strategies that we need to talk about here, because the number one thing that seemed to comes up, and I'll point this over to you, Dan, which is, let's talk media strategies for the UFC. When Demetrius Johnson was asked if he cares if people don't watch his fights, he says, I don't fucking give a shit. Is that the best response?
I'm not sure that's the best response, but I also don't think anything he has to say is going to change whether or not people want to watch him fight.
Why is
that? He's dominated guys the entire fight. He's knocked guys out. He's doing beautiful transitional arm bars. Like he's putting on a great show. He's a very exciting fighter. People just, for some odd reason, don't like to watch these like lower weight classes for some reason. I don't get it.
Kevin, is part of it that the roster is not quite as challenging to him, or is it still more of the same that people just don't give a shit about this weight category?
No, I think you just said it. I think that's purely and solely it. He hasn't had the 1, 2 through 5 contenders. Horio Horiguchi? No, I mean, I'm not. I swear I'm not trying to say that with like an inflammatory tone. Obviously,
you're just doing it amazingly.
Doesn't have the name recognition that other divisions have. This division is still working its way in, much like the women's super light divisions. The fighters aren't there yet. The competition's not there. The rest of the organizations aren't there yet. It's a weight class that just doesn't get the recognition. In part, while they're super exciting, they beat the hell. What looks like they're beating the hell out of each other, and it seemingly has no impact. That can be a little, exciting at times and super boring at others. And these fights do tend to go the distance. They just do. Unlike heavyweight fights that usually can end in the first 3 to 4 minutes, these fights don't ever. So that's my argument for, he's not going to be more popular until he has someone that can come up, fight him, that they can market. And Demetrius, obviously he knows Horiguchi is not that person.
Well, then what's the fix? Dan, do you have one for this category? Is there anything that we can do? Is the possibility of a super fight for him?
He fights Rampage. He fights Rampage. It's all done.
Kevin, that wasn't your question. All right, okay. Dan?
I'd like to see him fight Uncle Creepy again. I think their first 2 fights are great, the first one especially. But the UFC just has to build up Uncle Creepy again. Who's that? Who's the fat Brazilian guy who never make weight? What's his name?
Yeah, maybe. Have we talked to Frankie Edgar? Is this a weight class possibility for him? Probably not.
Who's the fat Brazilian guy who always knocks people out, but he always misses weight also? That's his weight class.
No clue.
Well, I don't know that you can look up on Wikipedia fat Brazilian who doesn't make weight.
Weight knocks people out.
He just fought Uncle Creepy. And he just beat Uncle Creepy.
Oh.
But he also missed weight by like 10 pounds.
That's right. Well, now you've got my interest peaked.
It's one of my favorite storylines when that happens. It's like how I knocked the shit out of it.
It's John Lineker.
Yes. Well, okay.
I thought he was going to be a good fight for Demetrius Johnson, but I think Dana told him, like, you're not allowed to fight in this weight class anymore because you miss way too much. It would have been great. It's you know what they really need to do is they need to have more of these challengers who speak fluent English. Because like these guys who are from Japan and Brazil, they're cool. Like they're great fighters, but they're not marketable.
Yeah, I do.
Like Jose Aldo kind of has the same issue. Like he's a great fighter, he's top of his division, but like he's not that marketable just because he can't fucking talk to anybody.
And when he does, it lacks liveliness. He looked like Tony from the the Miami one. The Say Hello to My. Thank you. He looked like Tony Montana with his suit choices.
This is terrible.
Well, his nickname is Scarface.
Yes.
Oh, fuck. That makes sense now.
Wow.
It all came back around.
Yeah.
Welcome to 12:15, Kevin.
I'm in Colorado, and I want to address the elephant in the room. The mountains are beautiful. That's all I'm going to say.
Good for you. The interesting thing is, so you get people walking out. You get Demetrius Johnson egging them on by saying, I don't give a fuck. Then, on this other side, you get Dana White, who in the post-presser says, I don't give a fucking shit if people leave when Demetrius Johnson fights. So, is the UFC just blind to this in some way, Dan?
No, he definitely cares. I mean, like he's Dana. He's not going to say that he cares, but at the same time, like I'm not so sure that people were walking out because they weren't impressed with this fight. It's kind of like if I'm at a basketball game and one team's up by like 30 points in the fourth period, am I going to stay the whole time? I'll probably leave. I'll probably beat the traffic and get out of there because I know what's going to happen.
And did people address the fact that it was Canadian fans, the most polite people on this world, who are then being like, ooh.
They were just done.
Oh, I think
they
we should
probably
go.
left really politely, though.
Yes, they cleaned up around
said,
them.
Excuse me, as they were getting up. They picked up their beers.
Yes, that's exactly what they were doing. They went to go do some good civilian work as they were walking around. Any final thoughts here, just on this or any other things that happened from the card? I'll start off with you, Kevin.
No, I was impressed by the after-fight presser because it was like Rampage and Bisping had taken the exact same course in arguing that they're not gatekeepers for the division. They were just like, no, I'm not that person. Don't make me that person. I loved that. That's all I got.
Do you think that was part Dan's work of continuously referring to people on this card as gatekeepers?
First of all, if Michael Bisping doesn't know he's the gatekeeper, he's the only one in the world that's not aware he's the person for that division. Him and Vitor Belfort have been like the two benchmarks forever for people to beat up. They took over for Forrest Griffin. Congratulations. He needs to know that.
I mean, Forrest Griffin also
it's
won
probably
a
Dan's
title as well, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah, fair.
And Vitor also has won.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, without steroids. Not possible.
All right. Dan, do you have any parting words of wisdom for Kevin? Because
for fuck's sake.
he seems to be on this trajectory of not winning.
Success? Okay.
Yeah.
And you seem to do well in this.
Yeah, I mentioned it last time, but on these cards that get scrapped and they start scrambling and trying to put matches together, these are the ones where it's going to be a lot easier to make bets because oftentimes it's going to be mismatched. And if you look at the results, only one underdog won. Only one underdog won a fight. Every other fight was won by the favorite, and that's like there's a reason for that. They're putting these matches together at the last minute. A lot of people came in on like weeks' notice, and they're not expected to win. No one expects them to win, but it's putting on a fight, you know. And these are the ones you want to look for when you're making bets. It's really easy to parlay, is what I'm saying.
Okay, so just have some common sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Kevin lacks that, just as a witness here.
Thanks for the unactionable help, Dan.
I don't know that we can truly make a difference here. Any other tips in particular for UFC 187, considering the card might change?
It's on the card. I don't even know when is it. There's fight like every weekend now. I can't keep track.
Yes, I know. It's a busy lifestyle with all of the jiu-jitsu art shows you're going to.
That art show was awesome.
I heard it was great. I'm not going to lie. You know what's sad is somebody texted me and they asked if I was going. And I actually was a friend in town who we were going to one of their shows. And I texted him and I was like, no, but I hear it's great. And then I just started seeing photos of everybody so happy at that exhibit. So I was like, oh, that looks so cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. I was there with Eric Medina, and we watched the back where they have this like kind of like live demonstration of jiu-jitsu, and they're swapping out people like every 30 minutes, having like a new group come on there and demonstrate some stuff, and like having these like exhibition matches. And Eric gets one of the last, limited edition gis that they were selling there, and he walks back there with his gi, and he finds security. He's like, "Hey, what do I change?" And they just directed him back to the back. I told him to stop, but like he could have easily got in there. It was really cool.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, leave it to Medina to find ways to worm into whatever nonsense and trouble there is. But that's
we're talking about the person that broke the first secret match. So
yep,
he enjoys doing that shit.
That's true.
Famous for breaking the secret match here on this podcast. Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, next month, theoretically, there is a fight between Jon Jones and
yeah.
There sure is.
And you were just telling Kevin to look out for those last minute rematches and last minute put together card parts. So what should he do?
I would take the over/under on Jon Jones not fighting. I would bet on him not fighting if I had the good odds.
Well, I'm at UFC.com right now.
It's looking really bad right now.
You mean he's not going to be able to overcome a hit and run?
Yeah, and a pregnant woman too. It's like, what's the biggest PR headache for Dana White right now? Like, okay, the Coke thing happened, and they kind of got over it, but now he just fucking crashed into a pregnant woman inside the scene, running around with piles of cash in his hand.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Paint her as the biggest dick of all time,
It's a little evil villain-esque, definitely. But I hope that in later future tellings of this story that it just keeps getting exaggerated. Like, she was a pregnant woman on the way to a soup kitchen to feed the children.
34 kids were in the car. 34.
Several were in the trunk. She was donating things that would change their lives. Like that kind of
I can't believe he got out on only a $12,000 bond. That's ridiculous.
Was it 12,000? I thought I heard it was 25.
I thought it was 12.
I thought it was
but I'm
2,500.
not sure. Whatever. It's all peanuts to him anyway.
Well, it's all peanuts to him indeed. Although enough,
he put that much up his nose before he crashed into it.
I was about to say, I was like, you know what? That's probably the money he just grabbed in there. So I'm pretty sure he made bail with whatever money he grabbed from the interior of the car.
You know what sucks too? That card outside of the Jones Johnson is an amazing card.
Yes. So hopefully the UFC will be able to come back strong. Dan, do you have anything that you would like to plug? What's going on with Newaza this week? What's going on with Dream this week? Dream has something, right?
Yeah, Newaza, it's a big week for both companies. Newaza's new line is dropping this Friday. Everything's pretty much, we just added the quantities to the store today, so we're good to go.
Awesome.
You have to have that special code to access the sale on Friday, which I shared on the last podcast, but it's stay grounded with no space. If you don't have the code, you're going to have to wait until Saturday, but by then, some of the stat sets might be sold out. With
Too late, fools.
Camouflage. Yeah, those ones might go quick. So Friday the 1st is when you really want to get to it. But if you can wait till Sunday, the Dream tournament, we're going to have a booth set up there also, so you can save money on shipping and actually check out the fit of stuff before you buy it. And that Dream event, I just checked, and we're at almost 400 competitors. Registration actually closed on Friday, but I'm still looking for specific divisions just to give people more matches. We had a couple where there's only one person in the division, and rather than move them up, I'm reaching out to the gym owners I know and trying to find people to match them up with, just so they don't have to move. So we might end up pretty close to 400 by the time I'm done here. But yeah, that's going to be a full day adult key tournament. Should be pretty exciting. We have like 15 black belts signed up or something like that. Like, it's going to be pretty cool. It's actually kind of amazing. Like, sometimes I have to slap myself because it's like a year ago, black belts want to compete for Dream. You know, like it's crazy. Like, these people sign up and they want to compete for Dream now. And sometimes I want to ask them, like, you know who we are, right? This is in the federation, you know. But like, people are coming out and people are really supporting, and it's awesome.
Well, I think that maybe you don't need to slap yourself.
I think the jig is up that you will run good tournaments.
Yeah.
It's just that is the simple math, I think. Run a good tournament, people will show up.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest factors is we run on time, like almost every single tournament.
They really do. It's actually really impressive.
Late on. Yeah, and it has a lot to do with like the detailed scheduling, like figuring out how many minutes is the average match going to last, and kind of working our way into like how many people. And there's a lot of thought that goes into it, and obviously it pays off.
Well, definitely. And if you guys see Dan, he'll be running around. But if you get a moment, corner him somewhere and say, Dan, I heard you on the Verbal Tap podcast when you beat Kevin. Never had any doubt.
You fucker. I agree. They should say that, Raph. Nice job. With the you fucker part at the end.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Dan, thank you so much for stopping back in, my man. It's great talking with you. It's really good going over all of these fight picks. I'm glad you schooled Kevin. Again, never had any doubt. I hope you enjoyed your time here. And what was the terms of the bet that Kevin has to do for you now?
I think he's exclusive to Dream Jiu-Jitsu as far as like super fights go.
I'm for sure going to issue a public release declaring that is my, I'm intended, that I'm with y'all.
Yeah. I can offer you like $200,000 in pretend money for that.
Pretend money is the best. It's the same as Metamoris $140K that they offer, but that's neither here nor there.
We'll talk about an exclusivity contract. Obviously, I'll make my demands, and then the ball's in their court.
Yep. Look for his response via meme, Dan.
All right. Well, Dan, thank you for swinging by, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, guys.
Raph, that was downright fun. Obviously, sucks We're losing Jon Jones for a little while, but it sucks.
Well, remains to be seen.
He needs to figure some stuff out.
We should lose Jon Jones.
Oh, I guess, yeah. I'm talking in a hypothetical state where they take him off the card, but what do I know?
Right.
I can't believe he's still on the card. I love that. Then we got to talk to Joe Schilling, who's as feisty as ever.
Yeah.
He's got it rolling. I love
man. Yeah, no, he just came back from vacation, but the vacation, it didn't take it out of him. That feistiness is still there. He just called it right back up, man.
He doesn't seem like someone that puts everything down on vacation. I don't think I'm stepping out on a ledge to say that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw Joe Schilling put up like a video on Instagram of somebody covering like Sublime or some happy song. And it was just like, all I could think of was, that's Joe Schilling chilling out. And he's
That's
happy.
him. Yeah, there he is.
Good for him.
Go, Joe. That's funny. Then, of course, we talked to Dan, who will be headed to Cozumel soon on his winnings. That's amazing, by the way. Dream Jiu-Jitsu is getting so huge.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal, man. That's so cool.
Yeah, and not a surprise. They do really, really good tournaments and good people.
Spoke highly.
Except for the people who run it.
Obviously, Megami and Hubler,
Terrible people.
Don't like either of them. But, 1 + 1 equals successful tournament, whatever. That's going to bring us to shout-outs. Raph, I'm starting early and often with the great state of Colorado. Just a lot of fresh air up here, and it's amazing. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. It's great. I did a comedy show last Friday called Bare Naked Comedy. Talked a little bit about, gave the podcast a little bump. Always fun. So I'm sure that entire burlesque crowd is listening to the podcast. So to them, hello. Fun show. And yeah, to you MMA fans, I do comedy at places where there's a lot of nudity because that's the only places I'm funny.
Is it you being nude? Because I feel that would hinder the comedy, or maybe it would help the comedy. I don't know.
I'm 50-50 on it too. I am for sure did not get naked. I did get the weirdest few comments I've ever got, but I did not get naked. There was at a point they did have to explain to someone, no touching the comedians. No touching. She had a hold of my arm. She was just like, "You're so funny." And the producer was like, "You are not allowed to touch them." That's number one.
Wow.
No touching anyone. No touching. You have to.
What is he, a piece of meat, people?
So much fun. So much fun. Got to get some good training in Saturday. Mm-hmm. Had a ton of people on the mats, which is, get to work a lot of the good deep half guard stuff that we've been throwing around. Loving it. Big thanks to our friend Jen Perez and Travis T. Money Conley. Both people know about Denver, Colorado, and I hit them up this weekend about places to train, and they each just raffled off like 4 spots and times and gi, no gi. So that was really sweet of them. That's the nice thing about the jiu-jitsu world. They're just so quick. It's
good.
So I just gave me more people than I could possibly train with in 3 days. Like 7 people. I was like, awesome, thank you. We've got tons of options. And to Travis, of course, she's like, what do you mean? Aren't you just going to be training back to back to back for 4 days straight? That's going to do it for me, Raph, except, of course, my favorites, BJJ Finder and Datsusara. That's right. I'm calling it my favorites this week because that's what I use. My Datsusara bag takes me everywhere I need to go.
Yeah.
BJJ Finder helps me get there.
Wow.
Jiu-jitsu.
Good job,
I'm done.
Kevin. Yeah.
I'm done.
Are you going to say it again?
No, I'm done.
Okay. Guys, I want to shout out Valley Martial Arts Center. Big shout out to our instructor Hassan for the afternoon classes. Hassan's, man, he's the funniest. Just real breezy, good stuff. Invited me to a really cool party of his that I actually can't attend, but put the best flyer I've ever seen for inviting for a party that I've it's like him and his wife inviting you to their party, and it's just like a random get-together kind of thing. And I looked at it and I go, this is the best flyer of all time. It shows them versus each other, but man, it's so funny. So Hassan, always great instruction over at Valley Martial Arts Center. I want to thank him for helping me out this week. Great techniques. Our thanks over to John Evans at Breakdown Academy for all of his great work. There's tons of people to shout out. I don't know that I'm remembering them all. I want to shout out my family for being so great. It was great seeing everybody this weekend. We get to catch up on everything post-wedding because I haven't seen them. We usurped everybody's birthdays with the wedding. So this was basically catching up on like 5 people's weddings or birthdays. And on the cake, it had 5 people's names. And that's when you know.
Adorable.
You feel a little guilty when you realize that you're the reason behind people missing all of those birthdays for the past few months. But it was great seeing everybody. I also want to shout out our good friend Andrew Kula, who came into town and had a great show. It was amazing. It was very funny. Got to meet some good people there. Amanda and Charlie are good friends who came with us to come see the show. Really, really fun stuff. So my thanks to everybody, and that'll do it for me, I think, this week.
Then that'll do it for us here tonight. Verbal Tap Cast. I'm Kevin. Thanks for listening.
Good night and good fight.
Let's just take a moment. Think about Jon Jones running hysterically through a New Mexico neighborhood. Okay. Done.